everybody. Welcome to T.O.'s Roadhouse. We have my old friend Joe Stampley in the house with us today.
10-4.
10-4. It is so good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you.
I met you when I was about 18 years old. You're the first big star that I ever met as I was chasing this dream. And I met your daughter when I was in college in Magnolia when I was just a kid. And I would come see you and you'd let me get on stage and sing with you when I was just a little skinny kid about that big around.
I did, man. You was just a little skinny boy.
Yeah.
And you'd get up there and sing a Haggard song or a Jones song.
Oh, yeah.
And I seen one time you looked like you was a little nervous.
Yeah, probably was.
Things have changed now, though.
Yeah, after years of doing it, I don't really get nervous that much anymore. Yeah. Even on the big stuff, I get more excited than I get nervous. I get the energy from all of it.
Right.
When you get to do those big shows, it's still a lot of fun.
Yeah, you were living in Foreman, Arkansas, I think.
That's where I grew up. Yes,
and I was out of Spring Hill, Louisiana. I think we're only 80 miles apart.
Not very far. And I lived in Spring Hill for just a little while before I moved to Nashville. I played in a band called Phoenix, and we worked around Ruston and Spring Hill and Shreveport and Monroe and all that kind of stuff. And I worked at Ivan Smith Furniture Company. I was the delivery guy.
Have mercy. Have mercy. Yeah. Marty Curtis is running that thing.
Has been. He was running that when I was down there working for him years and years ago. Yeah. Spring Hill doesn't change much, does it?
No. It really doesn't.
It's pretty strange. It's kind of trapped in time.
But it's a good little town. It really is.
It is. It is.
As a matter of fact, I got to give you a little trivia here. The last show we did, I had the rock and roll band in the 60s.
Yep, the Uniques.
The Uniques. Mm-hmm. And so they got us to do our last show at the Piggly Wiggly parking lot in Spring Hill, Louisiana. And we had over 5,000 people in that parking lot.
Wow.
To see us sing those old songs we did in the 60s.
When did the Uniques take off? What year did you have your first hit with the Uniques?
The first hit was 1965.
Yeah.
A song that I wrote with Merle Kilgore, a song called Not Too Long Ago.
Wow.
And it went to number 57 or something like that in the Billboard charts. And that was a rarity back then to be on an independent label and get that far in the charts.
Was most of the band from around Spring Hill? Because I remember the drummer that you had back in the early days, Mike. What was it?
Mike Love.
Mike Love, because I knew him. He lived in Magnolia when I was in Magnolia.
He's still there in Magnolia, Arkansas, and I talk to him every week. He's
my goodness,
dear friend still. And Ray Mills, Sarepta, Louisiana, and as a matter of fact, Ray Mills is right down there where our friend Trace Atkins was from. And he was talking about me letting you get up and sing some. I used to let him get up and sing some too.
Trace was really, I met him before I came to Nashville. I mean, people don't realize he's Cullen, Sarepta right there in that area.
Absolutely.
That's where he's from. He's I remember that Trace, when I played my last show at Bill's New Country there in Spring Hill before I came to Nashville, I think Trace had come to see me. He had been to Nashville and had come back. I guess he'd kind of come back. And when I came to Nashville and things took off for me, he came back to Nashville and tried again. And then he took off that time.
I played Bill's New Country a few times.
Did you really?
I sure did.
Wow.
Man.
I don't think that place is gone. I don't think they do music in there anymore. I think it's pretty much all changed.
I don't know if you ever heard the one of my first country records was a song called 2 Weeks and a Day, and it had people's names in it that were from our area.
Really?
Miss Lila Bean was my great aunt, and I had her working at Trudy's Bar in the song. And Eddie Arsenault was a booker out of Lafayette, Louisiana. You might remember him.
Wow.
And then Denville Gish had a lumber company down below Cullen, Louisiana. His name was in the song, too.
Wow. How did they like that?
I never got a chance to ask them. Never did.
It's always amazed me, when you're recording stuff, you don't realize how little things like that can have an impact on people. For instance, I remember when I recorded Time Marches On, it talks about Daddy's got a girlfriend in another town. My dad hated that song. because all the people, Daddy ran the bank in our little small town, and so all the people that he did business with thought that I wrote the thing about him, and I didn't even write it. Bobby Braddock wrote
Bobby
it,
Braddock.
but it tormented him, and he hated it
Oh, my
because he had to
gosh.
deal with that all the time because they thought it was something that
Yeah.
I wrote about my dad.
Yeah.
So when you
Yeah.
do references or things like that to people, I mean, people take a lot of that stuff
Oh,
literally.
yeah. Yeah.
And I bet it was really prevalent back then before social media because, stories could get legs underneath them, and what used to be just an urban legend turns into this crazy story. I mean,
Absolutely.
things had time to fester and cultivate back then, more so than they do now. Now something happens, it's instantly on the internet.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, gosh. The whole world has closed in.
Yeah, it has. Yeah. So what was it like, Joe, back then when you first started touring? I mean, buses have come a long way. The highway infrastructure's come a long way. The clubs, the big festivals, everything's changed so much. What was it like in the early days?
The first bus I had was Mr. Pete Drake's, the great steel guitar player.
Yeah, gotcha.
And it was a 35 foot, not 35, it was 30 foot, I think, gosh, it was like a Greyhound bus, kind of.
So it was a passenger bus.
Well, no, he had it done by that place in Columbus, Ohio.
Okay.
And a good inside. It was really neat and everything, but it had a small motor in it. And so in 77, I bought a brand new MCI.
Wow.
And ran that bus. The first motor in that bus got 800,000 miles on it.
Wow.
Detroit diesel, what it was, 3 something or other. But buses have improved so much. It's unbelievable.
What were crowds like back then? It seemed like there was so much intensity around music. All the old footage that I've seen, whether it was Elvis or the Beatles. But if you had something on the radio, I mean, it had to be having a tremendous effect on the crowds when you showed up. I mean, it impacted people back then.
Absolutely, and it was we'll call it the good old. It was the good old days,
Yeah.
And now. The buses are so great now. This bus here we're in doing this show.
Oh, without a doubt.
They're just, my nephew, Bobby Joe.
Yeah.
He's got him a big old Prevost. And he here a few weeks ago, he took me and Tim, my son, I was with Mo doing a show down by San Antonio, Texas. And he picked us, we met up with him in Houston, and he drove us over there to that gig in that Prevost, and we had a ball. We sure did.
How many hits, top tens, whatever, did you have with the Uniques?
With the Uniques, we had a lot of charted records, but the biggest thing we had was like not too long ago, All These Things.
I remember that one.
And people remember that song, but they would call it The Touch of Your Lips.
Yep.
And when I would play anywhere in South Louisiana, there'd be people come to the stage, they say, please do that song, The Touch of Your Lip.
When you made the transition from the Uniques and went country, what year was that?
It was 1971.
Okay.
And I was put on Dot Records 1971 to 1975. And Merle Kilgore was responsible mainly for me getting that deal because he was writing for Al Gallico music. And Mr. Al Gallico, he loved my voice. Yeah. And he said, I'm going to take you when your contract runs out at Paula Records and put you on Dot Records singing country music, because I had written a few country songs with Merle. And so it's just crazy how things come about,
What were record deals like back then? I know the contracts have people tied up so much now with 360 deals. I mean, the labels are taking a piece of everything. What were the deals like?
They weren't taking anything back then.
Yeah.
And but the deal, the way he got me on the label was, he says, if we don't have a hit within 3 singles, you don't have to put out anything else on Joe. My third single was a song that I had written with my producer at the time, Nora Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Song called If You Touch Me, You Gotta Love Me. And it went top 10. So then the rest is history, they might say, because I had several big records on Dot Records. And then at the end of that contract, Mr. Gallico moved me to Epic Records. And the deal there was Billy Sherrill was running CBS Records, which was Columbia and Epic. And they like to control what you put out.
Yeah.
I found that out real fast. So, but they could pick some great songs.
When did you feel like you got more control in that situation? I mean, I've always said that dealing with record labels is you have to learn to kind of bend like a tree. When you get the leverage and you get strong enough, you can put your foot down and stop some of that stuff. But until you get there, you kind of have to move with the wind a little bit.
I'll tell you a quick story about how it goes, because most of these people that I was involved with, they're all gone now. They passed away. But I had an album out. The album was called Red Wine and Blue Memories. And that was a big hit for me that Billy Sherrill had written with his nephew, Mark Sherrill, and Carmel Taylor. They'd put out Red Wine and Blue Memories and 10 Minutes to Fall in Love. Well, they wanted to move on to the next album. Well, one of the record promotion guys there at Epic said, there's a song left here. We've got to put it out because radio's asking for it. It was a song called Do You Ever Fool Around?
I remember that one too.
They didn't have publishing. See, that's when I found out what publishing meant.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have any more publishing on that album, and they wanted to move to the next album so they could have 5 or 6 songs with their publishing on it and then put out one of those. Well,
they call that controlled composition because I had to deal with some of that stuff too.
Mr. Joe Casey, promotion guy, he's still living down in Atlanta, Georgia, bless his heart. He said there's a line in this song I love so much that says, does an angel ever touch the ground? Do you ever fool around? He said, I'm putting that thing out whether they like it or not. And he got fired for it.
Wow.
Because they were in sole control over the songs you put out. But after that happened, another thing that happened was I cut the first version of The Most Beautiful Girl in the World.
Before Charlie Rich had a big hit on it.
Yes. And at the time, Charlie had just put out, what was his first big one? Behind Closed Doors. They needed a song, and they went and cut him on The Most Beautiful Girl and threw it out. And I thought, what in the world is going on?
Now, on the same label?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. But that's how it worked, because publishing was the big thing. They knew how to make that big Gitas, you know.
What was the lifespan of a record on the charts back then? Because I know in the 90s when my career started, we were about 12 to 14 weeks to get to the top of the charts. And the last big charted record that I had, which was Friends, this song back here on this flag, I think we were on the charts 52, 53 weeks to get to number 1.
Wow.
And now I know in this day and age, some of these kids might get one single a year. I mean, some they're working a record for a year, and with no record sales to prop all that up for that long. I mean, you got a lot of staff working on stuff, and it costs a lot of money to hold a record on the charts that long.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't build your body of work. What was the structure like back then?
Back then, if they had a song that they was going to really try to take to number 1, it could stay on the charts for like 14 to 16 weeks.
Yeah.
And I had one song that they didn't have publishing on, believe it or not, and it stayed in the charts for 26 weeks.
Wow.
And it was the old Swinging Medallion song. I redid Double Shot of My Baby's Love. And that thing got played to death. And they were sitting there reaming their hands, couldn't stand it because they
didn't have the
publishing.
Wow. Man, it's fascinating to me to kind of compare how different things were and just where we're at now, and how, you know, these big festivals and stuff now, you know, drawing 30, 40, 50, 60,000 people and stuff. I mean, it's amazing how big, and they're all over the country now. We used to just have a handful of them. You know, it's come a long way.
Well, it's amazing. Mo, I'm just doing shows out there now with Bandy.
Yeah.
Mo called me up here about 5 years ago and said, hey, you want to get together again and do some reunion dates and everything? I said, shoot, yeah. Well, we've been doing them things now for almost 6 years, and we're still able to draw huge crowds.
And I wanted to transition to that too. When and how did you and Mo come together as a duo?
It was 1979. We were both doing the Wembley Festival in London, England.
Really?
Yeah, and it was big country. It's just strictly a country festival at the Wembley, the big
Tennis
stadium
place,
there.
yeah.
Yeah. And so we got done, and it was the last night of the show, and Ray Baker was producing Mo Bandy at the time. And I had a piano player by the name of Ansley Fleetwood, who was the band leader of my band. And so Ray Baker asked Ansley, said, "You reckon Joe would like to go with us tonight? Me and Mo's going to the Hard Rock Cafe to get a good hamburger." I said, "Shoot, yeah, we'll go with y'all, man." So me and Ansley went with him and got over there and got to talking music. And just off the top of my head, I said, "Have y'all heard that new song by Waylon and Willie called Good Hearted Woman?" They said, "We love it, man. We love it." I said, "Well, don't you think Waylon and Willie just kind of ring a bell together?" I said, "I bet you if me and Mo did some duets together and called ourselves Mo and Joe, we could have some hits together." Ray Baker picked up on it. Ansley picked up on it. And Ray Baker went back, when we got back to Nashville, he got with CBS Records. They said, "We'll let y'all do 3 songs to see if something might, click." Well, Ansley picked up on it, and he, on the way back to Nashville on the plane, he wrote Just Good Old Boys.
No kidding.
He did. And so he gave me that song and said, "What do you think about this?" I said, "I think it's a monster." So we go in to record the 3 songs with Ray Baker, the producer, and the first song we cut was Just Good Old Boys. It went number 1. The second song we cut was You Always Leave Me Holding the Bag. It went to number 2 in the charts. The third song we did was Tell-O I Ain't Here, He Better Get On Home, and it went to number 5 in the charts. So that was the beginning of the Mo and Joe history.
And what was the lifespan as far as the commercial recording process and that?
We were doing Mo and Joe stuff for 5 or 6 years.
Really? And that was all on CBS too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they were still putting out songs on me individually and Mo individually. And we were getting knocked out of the charts with Mo and Joe.
Can we talk about Where's the Dress?
Wow. That was that.
If nobody's seen Where the Dress, it was way ahead of its time. Y'all got in some trouble over that one too.
We won the video of the year with that song because we went ahead and put them dresses on and acted like Boy George,
Yeah.
And it was a song. I have to tell you the story. My son Tony, he wrote part of that song, and he brought it to me, and we were on our last cut for that particular album. And I listened to that thing, and I said, Boy George was just on People Magazine, the cover of People Magazine. He was everywhere, because he had the big song Karma Chameleon.
Yeah.
Well, when Mo and I are doing our shows, Mo said, "Let's do that song we did that your son wrote and everything." I said, "The song that the Peckerhead sued us for," And we get a big laugh out of that, and Mo said, "You can't say that on stage, And I said, "Well, I just did,
Well, you know what I said earlier about how songs can have such an effect on people, when you make references to them or whatever. That probably traumatized you, didn't it, Timbo?
High school, they come up to me, "I like that song. It's a funny."
My dad's in a dress.
Yeah. Yeah.
I loved it all, though.
I tell you how Mo consented to do it. We had already cut the song, and then they wanted to do a video on it. The record label wanted a quick video done. And Jim Owens did that video on us, I think, on Where's the Dress. But anyway, there was a makeup woman there, and so they'd put me all dolled up, makeup on, the whole works, and that little old black hat he wore, and everything. And so I went in that dressing room with her, and she got me all dialed up and everything. And Mo was still sitting there. He said, "I don't know whether I can do this or not." I walked out. I walked out with that outfit on. He says, "By golly, Joe, if you're man enough to do it, I'm man enough too. Take me in the dressing room."
Well, I love Mo. I've got to spend quite a bit of time with him over the last few years. We've done a couple of hunting trips together. He's a piece of work.
He is a dry sense of humor.
He's got a great sense of humor, and he knows a zillion freaking one-line jokes. I mean, he can just throw them out all day long. And from what I understand, he used to be quite the scrapper too.
Oh, he has cleaned a many a honky tonk out.
That's what I've heard about him. He'd just come in and just clean them out.
His brother was a great bull rider, Mike, and Mo had that big song,
Bandy
the Rodeo Clown, and he says, "I want y'all to know that I was a bullfighter in that song," but he said, "I never would want to get on one of them,
Yeah. I sure think a lot of him, man. It had to be a great time coming up and going through all that in country music in the late 70s and 80s, man. Things were booming back then, and that traditionalism was swinging back around. You hit the early 80s, and Hank Jr. was just, I think, Whiskey Bent Hellbound came out in 78, and then the whole outlaw movement. There was just so much energy in the early 80s right there. It seemed like it was a great time.
Yeah, 79 is when we put out Just Good Old Boys, and it went straight to #1. 1979.
Wow.
And we had songs out through 75 albums we were putting out.
Wow.
And so when you're working a lot, time flies.
Yeah, you just get kind of caught up in all of it. It just you wake up and 5 years have gone by and 10 years has gone by. It moves so fast in this business.
Yeah. I was looking back on my list of songs and everything. I was shocked to see that "Roll On Big Mama," big trucking song I did, is now over 50 years old.
Wow.
Time flies.
Yes, sir, it does. You still enjoy performing a little bit these days?
I love it.
You're 81 now, aren't you?
81.
81.
Yeah.
You just had a birthday not long ago.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure did. Yeah. And you're still just a little puppy.
Yeah. These road miles will catch up with you, though. I mean,
but when you Terry Joe, y'all would come together. My daughter Terry Joe would bring you to those El Dorado, Arkansas.
Yes, sir.
And, Pine Bluff, different
Rio Palm Isle,
in Longview, Texas. Mm-hmm. And I just would call you up, and buddy, you were there. You sang at least 2 or 3 songs. I
was very hungry too. I wanted it so bad. I mean, just had all these big dreams. Just didn't know how to get where I wanted to go. And for you to break out of Spring Hill, Louisiana, I felt the same way leaving Foreman, Arkansas. I mean, when I was there was 1,000, 1,100 people. Spring Hill probably about the same size. I mean, people just don't get away from those little towns like that. I mean, to break out, it's like an unbelievable dream that nobody thinks you can accomplish.
Yeah, at one time Spring Hill had 7,000 people.
Did it really?
But that was when International Paper Company was the big thing there, and they've since shut that mill down. And once that mill went down, I think we have 3,500 or 4,000 people now in Spring Hill.
Yeah, it's a lot bigger than Foreman, Arkansas was. Yeah, it's just it had to be so great back then. And as it rolled into the 80s, you had guys like Randy Travis and George Strait that were on fire. There was just so much great music. Earl Thomas Conley, and then Alabama with their pop country. Kenny Rogers was huge. There was just so much great music back then.
You mentioned a guy's name. Of all things, I was working a club at least 3 or 4 times a year in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was called the Country City, USA. You remember that place?
No, it must have been gone by the time I got there.
It was owned and operated by Lib Hatcher.
Okay, Randy Travis's.
Yeah. Well, she said, one night I was there, and she said, "I want you to hear this young guy I found," and said, "See what you think. And maybe could you produce a record on him in Nashville?" So I listened to him. I said, "Yeah, we can do something with him." And it was Randy Trawick at the time. Yep. Well, we did those records, and I couldn't get a label to take him, and finally went back to Paula Records, the label I was on in the '60s, and Mr. Stan Lewis said, "I'll take those masters," and he put out 2 singles on Randy Trawick, and they both charted in the Billboard Top 100.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Then Lib got him the deal with Warner Brothers. The rest is history.
Yeah.
And then I heard a song on the other hand. And they said, that was Randy Travis. I said, the hell you say? That sounded like Randy Trawick to me.
Yeah.
But he changed his name.
I've had a chance to be around Randy a little bit, and his journey's sad to know that he's still cognitively in there and not able to verbally express himself. But he comes to a lot of shows, and you can tell that the music's still in his soul. I don't know if you saw recently, and I want to get your perspective on it, but they took Randy in the studio and they did some AI stuff and cut a new record on him. And it just, I don't know how I feel about that, being able, take an artist like that and dump all of their vocal recordings from early years in, and then an AI recreates this vocal on a record that you didn't sing on. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm proud that he was able to experience that, but as far as doing it on a commercial level, I think it's a dangerous pond to play in.
I don't care for it. I'll be honest, I don't. There's too many things going right now that they can do with mechanical stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That I don't care for.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, they can still tune people in the studio now.
Oh, yeah.
When I got started, if you wasn't on key and couldn't make it sound right, you didn't get a record out.
That's right.
And I started cutting records when I was 15 years old. And my old buddy Merle Kilgore got me the deal with Imperial Records, Los Angeles, California. Ricky Nelson was on the label and Fats Domino. Ernie Freeman was the instrumental guy. And they put out 2 singles on me, and they both bombed big time. I mean, they bombed. But I was just a kid.
Yeah.
And but you had to sing back then, and same way with you. You had to sing when you were doing your first records.
I miss. Technically speaking, I miss analog. I miss the warmth of analog.
It's the best.
Everything is cut on Pro Tools now. It all goes through a computer. We all do it. The convenience makes it so enticing, and it's just you can go in the studio and knock 6 tracks out and then a 10 and a 2 and do vocals that night, and boom, 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 it's tuned with overdubs and you're done. It really can be that quick if you're efficient with your time. It's amazing.
I can put a long play on my tuner at the house, and then put one of the new things that's a CD or something like that. It's so much difference in the quality. Yeah. It's smooth. It's got a touch to it. It's breathier.
It's like it's got warmth to it.
It is warm.
It has a whole different feel. Everything now is just shoved so far up in your face.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
It just, and I've found stuff on the internet where they would take some of these classic rock records like Led Zeppelin and different things, which I'm a fan of all different kinds of music, and come in and hard tune those vocals, and it will absolutely destroy the feel of those records.
Absolutely.
It just you can't replace it.
Before I forget it, you were talking about that song, Where's the Dress,
Uh-huh.
Well, we went on and won out in California the video of the year with that song, because every line of the song told a story, But Tony wrote part of that song, and I had part of the publishing on it, and we kept waiting for our royalties to come in, and they didn't come in. Here it was, 8-9 months later, no royalties on that song. Boy George sued us, and he got $100,000, but me and Mo didn't have to pay. The label had to pay.
Wow.
CBS Records had to pay him because that was Karma Camellia intro, and our producer at the time put that on that record. And
so y'all were guilty of being the first samplers.
There you go. Man.
It was all your fault. You started all that mess.
Absolutely, man. But we had no idea he would do that, But Mo used to say on most of the shows, says, if he comes around here where we're playing, he better watch out, because he's going to get a good A-whipping.
I think Mo could probably take him.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, at 81 years old, you've seen a whole lot of things in this country, and we were talking just before we started rolling the recording machine today, just about the state of our country and where we're at. I know you wanted to kind of touch on some things. You and I have a lot of the same philosophy and believe a lot of the same ways about where we're at as a country.
I'm all for the flag, and I'm all for all the things that me and you grew up with.
Yeah.
And I do not want to ever for this country to become a communist, socialist country.
I agree.
Because it is not going to be good for anyone except the ones running it. And so we need to know what to do when it comes time to go pull that vote button.
And we need to do it in mass too. We
In
need
mass.
to do it over in an overwhelming fashion, so there's no doubt about it.
I saw this guy on TV the other day. He was carrying the wreath to the soldiers that got killed over in Afghanistan, I think it was.
For that ridiculous withdrawal that we went through.
Yes, there was no other. Biden wasn't there. Camelo, however you pronounce it, Camelo wasn't there, but Donald Trump was there. He's the most humble. To be as wealthy as he is, he looks out for people.
I think he's got a very big heart, and I believe that he really 1,000% believes that his knowledge and his skill set, he can make a difference in this country and get it back to a place that I feel like we're so close to going over the line that we might not ever come back.
That's right.
We're so close to it. And I felt that way, I said this earlier, in the last 16 years, 12 of those years that we've had a Democrat in office, and the 4 years that we didn't, we had the best economy and the most thriving market that we've had in decades. So everybody just needs to kind of step back and look at the policies. You might not like some of the tweets or things, but he seems to have calmed down a little bit with his rhetoric, and he's not offensively on the verbal attack with everybody all the time. I think he's kind of got a little bit better perspective where he's at this go around.
He's doing real good right now, and I pray to the good Lord up above that we'll win that election.
I just don't know how we got here. I've got a young lady by the name of Riley Gaines that's going to be on my podcast in the next few weeks, and she was the swimmer from Kentucky that was beat by the trans swimmer, and there's so much stuff up in there about that. When did we lose track of what a woman is? I mean, I don't understand that. I mean, I don't have any animosity toward anybody, whatever your race, color, religion, creed is, what your sexual orientation is. I don't care about that. But we've gone so far backward with protecting our women right now. How did we lose control of this? I don't understand how we got here.
Well, it's the other side that's doing all this. It's definitely not us Republicans.
Well, we haven't lost it completely, but we're teetering on the brink of disaster. We have no middle class left. You either have money or you don't.
That's right.
And the cost of living, I went to the grocery store the other day, and I do a lot of the grocery shopping for the house. I'm the primary cook when I'm home. We have 2 daughters, and I've been doing the grocery shopping for years, and I'm telling you, what used to cost me a couple of $100, $250 a week when I would load up for the week, I spent over $600 at the grocery store the other day. There you have it. It's ridiculous where these prices are. The farmers are having to raise their prices. Delivery costs are they're just running these buses up and down the road. The cost of fuel and getting people from point A to point B, the logistics of all of it is gotten overwhelming. So a person. I mean, golly, I don't know how people are affording to have 2 or 3 kids that are making $40,000-$50,000 a year.
Talking about your bus, if the other side goes, there'll be a big battery in the center of this bus here, and you can go about 200 miles, and then you got to stop and charge that big battery for about 2 hours. How are you gonna make them shows?
That will never work for us. I am on board with making conscious changes and moving in a direction that are realistic, but you're not going to flip this country and go all electric overnight. It's not going to happen. That destroys their infrastructure. The truckers can't do it. I mean, when you're running overnight trying to get your load to a destination, you got 8 or 10 hours to get there. They've already got so much regulation on it that you're having to type your ID number into these boxes on these buses. They regulate how much time you can spend behind the seat. I mean, we are completely overregulated in every aspect of our lives.
That is the.
So there's no way that we're going to be able to go all electric vehicle. I mean, it's
I will ride a donkey before I will buy an electric car.
I will pay money to see that if you'll dress up and wear some dress again and ride the donkey.
I will, because I ain't buying no electric car that has to be, when you get down to 100 miles, you can start looking for a damn cord to plug into the electricity and then sit there for an hour waiting on it to get you going again. No way.
Yeah, I don't have the patience for all that. You know, it'd just make me get fat, because I would just wind up at Cracker Barrel all the time. Because they got them chargers there. You know, if you got to wait for an hour or so, you might as well go in Cracker Barrel and eat.
That's right. That's right. Yes, sir.
And I do love me some Cracker Barrel, and they are not sponsoring us, but I do love me some Cracker Barrel.
And I think they're getting better.
Yeah, they've changed their menu a little bit.
I love it.
I love good country food.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit more about music. Of all the years that you've been in the business, can you give me a couple of highlights, whether it was shows that stick out in your memories, you know, just things that happened in your life? I mean, give me a couple of good road highlights.
Well, we'll start with my first record. First time I heard myself on the radio, I was thrilled to death. You know, I said, God, that's me. That's me singing, you know? And then I guess when I got my the label that Paula Records, did you know that me and the band, the Uniques, formed that label? They didn't have a pop label at the time. They were strictly rhythm and blues. Stan Lewis had Stan's One Stop in Shreveport, Louisiana. So I went to that place back when I was out of high school with the Uniques, and we'd started playing a lot of shows and drawing big crowds. And I went in there and I met Mr. Lewis, and I said, I've got a band and we're doing good with it and everything. And we got some great songs. He said, well, you got to see my new producer here. And says his name is Dale Hawkins. Dale Hawkins was the writer and sang "Oh Susie Q," the big song years ago. So I went over and started talking to him, told him who I was, and he said, well, if do you write songs? I said, sure I do. He said, sing me something you just wrote. I said, well, I don't have my piano. He said, sing it a cappella. I cracked down on Not Too Long Ago. He says, if you put your band together and be in Tyler, Texas next Thursday, go to Robin Hood Bryan's recording studio, I'll record that song on y'all.
Wow.
He did, brought it back to Shreveport, and told Mr. Lewis, says, you need a pop label. This is a pop song. They formed Paula Records. And on Paula Records, some of the hits, one of the biggest ever, was John Fred and the Playboy Band, Judy in Disguise with Glasses. You know, John was from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And Nat Stuckey, I played on Sweet Thing, his great country song.
Really?
They came into Tyler. We were through recording at the time, and Mr. Frank Page, who was running KWKH radio in Shreveport, the Louisiana Hayride was coming out on that. He said, Joe, if y'all can stay over and record 3 songs with Nat, says we'll pay y'all $50 a piece. We said, hey, we're here, man. Let's do it. And one of those songs was Sweet Thing. And I played a combo compact organ on that record. It sounds like little fiddles in the background, just holding, you know, the chord changes. Mm-hmm. The Paula record thing was one of my big highlights. And then Merle Kilgore had written some songs with me, and he was running Al Gallico music in Nashville. He played a bunch of stuff to Al. Al says, called me and said, when your label runs out with Stan Lewis, I'll get you a record deal. That was a highlight because he did. That man, when he told you something, it came through. And then he moved me to Epic Records, and that was another highlight because at the time Billy Sherrill was producing over there. And Billy produced a bunch of my songs over there on Epic Records.
Yeah.
And then me and Mo winning 3 vocal duet awards was another highlight. We won 3 times as Mo and Joe.
CMA and ACMs?
CMA once, twice ACMs.
Yeah.
And then we won the Video of the Year out there in California.
I mean, those things had to be huge. So Bill Boyd was an old friend of mine. Bill, I
loved him
Bill
to death.
So Bill was the guy that founded the Academy of Country Music.
Yes.
And it was done out of spite for the CMA.
Right.
And I got real close to Bill and Fran over the years before the ACMs moved to Las Vegas from LA. Those were great times back then.
Did you play his golf tournaments out there?
I played the golf tournament many
too.
times. I wouldn't call them what I did actually playing, but I was there with a bag of clubs.
I was hacking the ground, That's what I was doing, but I was there.
There was a couple of dog legs on that course that were really difficult that I had a hard time with.
Yeah.
I mean, just like
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a really tight little course.
But they were good people. They were really
good
great people, and that thing's still going.
It is. It's changed a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not
They
quite.
moved it to Vegas, didn't they?
They moved it to Vegas, and then the last couple of years, it's been where the Cowboys practice facility is in Texas, not the big stadium in Arlington. It's where's it at? Y'all remember?
I should know this.
It's
Frisco.
Yeah,
Isn't that it, Frisco?
it's
Yeah,
the
Frisco.
big dome.
No, it's the one in Frisco where the Cowboys practice facility.
I see.
Yeah, that's where it's at.
Before I forget about it, we'll get off of music here for a second. Tim, my son, is with me today, and he and a guy named John King played together high school football in Spring Hill. They won the state championship in 1984, 85. Well, they go on, have families and stuff, and John King's son now is the quarterback for Georgia Tech.
Okay.
Georgia Tech just beat the top 10 team, the Seminoles, this last week.
Weren't they that
Opening game.
Weren't they over in London or something? Or
Yeah,
they played over.
they were in Ireland.
Okay, I knew they were over in Europe.
Dublin,
somewhere.
Ireland.
Wow.
And so a little connection there for my friend John King, his son.
That's awesome.
His first name is Haynes, of all things. Haynes King. Watch out for him.
That's
He's
awesome.
going to be great.
But I wanna talk about JT Cornfloss.
Oh man!
Because and rest his soul, JT passed away from cancer a few years ago. I never got a chance to work with him in the studio, but I remember him vividly. I mean, he was such a great guitar player. When you would let me get on stage when I was 18, 19 years old, JT was playing on the road with you. But he became a pretty prominent session player here in Nashville.
Oh.
And I remember that baby blue telly that he had. Yeah, he would wear that thing out. What a great guitar player he was.
I got to be with him the day I went down to the hospital where he was at.
Yeah.
He was kind of out of it, but I put my hands on him and I told him how much I loved him.
Yeah.
And he got with me when he was 17 years old.
Did he really? Where was he originally from?
Up in Indiana.
Okay.
And as soon as he started playing, he worked up all my songs by himself by just listening to the records, the guitar licks and everything.
Yeah.
And that night, the boys in the band says, "Gosh, keep him. He's great." He wouldn't make a mistake, and I knew he was going to go on and leave me later on and become a studio picker. But he stayed with me 8 years, and great guitar player
And a great human being too. From all I remember about him, he was just a real sweet soul.
Just
it really was.
most of the Brooks and Dunn stuff, that's him playing guitar on.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
The early Brooks and Dunn.
Wow. there's so many great musicians in Nashville too, and I'm sure you've had a chance to play with so many of them over the years. People don't realize how talented and how well structured Nashville's recording system is. I mean, better than any place else. I mean, you can go down to those 3 streets down in what we call Music Row, which isn't really Music Row anymore. It's all condos and stuff. But I mean, it used to have such a feel to it. I mean, anything you wanted was a phone call away. A certain type of background singer, a certain type of gear. You had access to string arrangers. I mean, just anything that you wanted was just 5 minutes away, basically. It was all right there. I just always felt like the recording operation, the way that people produce records in Nashville is just leaps and bounds above everywhere else.
Boy, there's been a lot of great steel guitar players gone.
Oh, my gosh, man. Paul
Pete
Franklin.
Drake years ago.
Yeah.
And then who's the guy that played, oh, gosh, I can't think of his name, but there's so many of them.
John Huey.
John Huey?
Yeah, John Huey. Well, John's still alive.
Did you ever play with Sonny Garish at all?
I think he passed. Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah.
I did not. He played
Yeah.
with
Conway Twitty.
and then
Vince
he went
Gill.
with Vince Gill. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. So many of them.
So, yeah. And great guitar players. I mean, Nashville just, I mean, it's amazing just the talent that's here. And I was watching, I don't know if you're familiar with, and I've told this story before, a guitar player named Tom Bukovac. You familiar with him? But he was on, it may have been Rick Beato that he was on a podcast the other day, a while back, and I was listening to him, and he said the most difficult thing about being a session player, you know, you think about it, you're working on a solo, and you think you got it all figured out, and you lay down a track, and it's just smoking hot, and the producer's like, don't really like that direction. Let's try something else. And you got to completely turn yourself around, get out of your own way, find a different sound, recreate something with just as much passion and intensity, and come right back at it again.
Yeah.
And being able to do that without frustration, without getting in your own way, I mean, that's the true skill set of some of these guys that can turn on a dime and give you a completely different sound in a different direction that freaking quick. That's a brilliant skill set.
Hey, how they go in there. Here's what used to amaze me. I used Pig Robbins on most of my sessions.
Brilliant piano player.
He's blind, you know.
Oh, yeah.
His son would lead him in there, set him down on the bench, and he's never heard the song before, and they'd say, we're going to run the song. He would go right to the key the song was in.
Yeah.
And couldn't see nothing. And then play some of the best piano I've ever heard.
And without being able to write charts or any score or anything, everything was in his mind. I've heard that about him, that he was that brilliant.
Oh, he was. He was just unbelievable.
Yeah, we've all seen the Nashville recording process change and grow over the years. Are there any of these young artists that you've heard that you like? Is there anybody out there? Are you just detached from
Well,
music?
yeah, there's a bunch of them out there that I like, and things keep changing. You know, it's going to keep changing, but you're still putting out country records.
I'm still making country records, and there's a lot of really good, talented people. It's just, I don't know. The music has changed. I think it goes through cycles where it gets real strong, and then the songs get a little weak, and they get overproduced, and you got to back up and regroup. Everything goes through like a 10-year cycle.
That's right.
That I see it.
You're absolutely right.
And then everybody backs up, and you kind of get a new perspective. But you kind of burn out at the end of each decade. Things change a little bit, and you got to kind of get a new perspective and change gears. But I've seen it happen over and over again just the 30-something years I've been here.
Yeah, I remember when I first started in country, I got a good following, and a lot of those people say, "Whatever you do, Joe, don't change what you're doing, man." But that the people that was controlling me was always looking for a crossover record.
Yeah,
and I had a couple of them. One was "You're My Soul" song, and I didn't really want to put that record out, but it went number one country, and it went to number 20-something in the pop charts.
Does that have a big effect on being able to work over in Europe? I mean, I know you talked about a big country festival in Wembley, but it seems like the crossover stuff, I know the Bellamy's have done really well over in Europe over the last couple of decades, but they had a lot of crossover hits too. That seemed to have a big impact on their European market.
Yeah, it does. And another person that worked a lot, and she's gone now, was Billie Joe Spears.
Really?
Had the blanket on the ground. You remember that song?
I do. Yeah.
And she worked over there all the time. Sure
And
did.
country really seems to be growing a lot over there. I think it's really had a big impact there. I know artists are going over there and playing a lot bigger arenas and things now. That it's really coming around to country more.
Well, you just had a guy on your show here a few weeks ago, I think, Jelly Roll.
Yep.
Jelly Roll he could be considered good pop music.
Oh yeah. Well, he's also a rap artist too. So
Yeah.
he was writing rap songs before he ever got a country deal.
But I love his voice.
Oh,
I
yeah.
really do.
And he's a sweet, sweet man. I
Yeah.
mean, the journey that he's been on and just what he's been through, what he's overcome. I mean, you have to have a lot of respect for that.
Yeah.
You know, because he's not made an easy path for himself. Of course, I think we're all a little bit guilty of that at times.
Yeah.
What do you do in your off time?
Well, for a long time, I was cutting my grass at the house, and I had to cut about 7 acres,
Yeah.
and that's a lot of riding on a dang lawnmower.
Yes, sir.
And crappie fishing, love that. As a matter of fact, me and Tim, my son over here, we're going when it cools down just a little bit.
We need to go fishing.
Yeah, you can go
We
with
need
us.
to go fishing.
Tim's got a boat that'll hold all three of us well, and he'll pull your eyeballs back when he.
Where's the best crappie lake at? I've done crappie fishing on Kentucky Lake, and if you know some spots, but I don't go up there
Percy
enough.
Priest ain't bad. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
But Center Hill is good lake for
I
crappie.
love Center Hill. It's probably my favorite lake in the entire area.
It's
up
beautiful
here.
over there.
And it's clean. You stay inside that national park there. We used to go up there and rent a houseboat, once a year or so, and go up there with friends. And
Yeah.
it's just so deep and clean. It's just such a great lake.
Yeah, it's a great place. And my brother came up to go fishing with me one time. He said, "This lake is just too deep." There's
It
places
is
in that
deep.
lake that's 150,
Oh, yeah.
200 foot deep.
Yeah, it's got some deep spots in it, especially in that body as you're going back toward the dam. Where what is Edgar Evans State Park? I
Yeah.
believe that's where we
Yeah.
always put in right there at
Yeah.
that marina. Yeah, that's a deep body of water. And as you get out, as you start going back up in, it starts to get a little bit shallow as you kind of come out of out of the
Right.
national park there and kind
Right.
of get into the more public area.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a hidden gem.
They've got the black nose crappie up there. I don't know if you're familiar with that. or
I'm not.
They're huge.
Really. Junior's
I
going to be
caught
looking it up.
one.
I already know what it is.
My biggest one that I caught was 18 inches long.
No kidding.
See that?
What we got?
of
It's
these-
hard to beat a
see
crappie.
Yeah, it's got a black strip right down his back.
Black strip.
I'll be dang.
See that black strip? They
And
call
they
it.
get bigger than regular.
Oh, they're huge.
I love a big slab. That's about as good a fish eating that you're going to
Oh.
get. I just absolutely love
That
them.
and a good bluegill. They're hard to beat.
Yeah. I bet I got some in my pond that are that big.
Bluegill?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Big. Oh, I got some massive ones.
That sounds like a Georgia giant.
They're big. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got plenty of them too. Yeah, I like it all. Look at that.
Yeah, that's
Country Soul of Joe Stampley.
that's a little album I put together, and I did songs that I had recorded that were just album cuts, but they were great songs. And If You Don't Know Me By Now is on that album. You remember that song?
I do.
And Poor Side of Town. And
Remember that one too?
Yeah,
On the poor side of town.
yeah.
A lot of great old records.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of them. So that's on my front porch there.
How's Johnny Lee doing? I know that we talked a little bit before. You and Mo had a show recently down in Texas, and I think Johnny was on that show. And I try to stay in touch with Johnny a little bit too.
I talk to him every time he's on it. We're shows together, and bless his heart, he's wanting to retire.
Yeah.
I told him, I said, Johnny, you're still singing pretty dang good. And I said, you ought to just stick it out for a while. So I think he's going to try to finish this year out.
That's good. I sure think a lot of him. He's a character too. He's got some stories to tell.
He told me a story. It shocked me. He said, Joe, I was in Vietnam, 1966. And he says, my girlfriend at the time was in Shreveport, Louisiana, and said she sent me a a record. It was on Paula Records, and it was by the Uniques. And it was a song called All These Things. He says, I still do that in my shows.
Wow.
He said that song made me cry. And of course, he said, I was wanting to get home so bad. But he said, Vietnam wasn't no just giveaway thing. He said it was a lot of fighting going on over there.
I can't even imagine.
Oh.
Yeah. Never.
But his big song, Looking for Love, that's one of the best songs ever.
Yeah, that whole era when Urban Cowboy came out, man, that changed country music right there. I think it had a lot to do with the explosion of country music in the early 80s. When did Urban Cowboy come out? 82, 83, something like that?
It was before that, I think.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Get on it, Junior.
I'm on it. Let's see what we got here.
Me and
1980.
1980, yeah. Yeah, me and Mo could never figure out why in the hell they didn't put us a couple songs in that thing.
They put Boss Skaggs on there.
Yeah. Because we'd had out Just Good Old Boys and Holding the Bag and a couple of more, but that's the way things go.
Yes, sir. I've learned over the years you got to kind of take advantage of whatever opportunities come your way. I mean, everybody's journey in this business is completely different. There's no two paths that are the same. As much common ground as we all share, everybody's got a different story to tell.
I lost touch with you back, when you decided to come to Nashville.
Yes, sir.
I didn't see you and hear you down there much anymore, and all of a sudden I'm hearing a song called Sticks and Stones. I said, damn, that sounds like Tracy. Sure enough.
Yep.
New song by Tracy Lawrence.
Isn't that crazy?
That's the great song too.
It was such a great time in my life. I mean, that song changed my life. I mean, it changed everything.
Yeah.
And just that whole journey. There's something really special about the feeling of experiencing a record of yours go up the charts. There's an energy to it that you can't describe to somebody, and there's a feeling as it progresses through the process. You got a little energy from the crowd in the top 40, and then when you hit top 20, it escalates quite a bit, and then the top 10. When you get up inside the top 5, you go to a show and you kick it off, and everybody's screaming and singing the words back to you. There's something about that whole process that's addictive.
Well, I got to tell you, one more highlight of my life would be the times Al Gallico became my manager. Okay, he was a big publisher, but he knew how to work records. He was one of the best at getting records played. He would call me. Here I was down in Spring Hill, Louisiana. He talked like this. He said, "Hey kid, you're going from 63 to 33 with a bullet." I said, "What's a bullet?" He said, "That means it's a good jump."
Yeah.
So
those old record guys. I mean, did you know Wayne Edwards at all?
I knew him and loved him to death.
Oh, Wayne was, you either loved Wayne or hated him. There wasn't a lot in between. A lot of people couldn't stand, but I learned so much from that man about working records. I saw him take one of my songs from 7-1 on a dying breath. He killed everything in front of it over the weekend. He called everybody that he knew, because he knew DJs all over the country, and had them spin it over and over overnight, because they could do that back then.
That's right.
He could get them to play it. They had the freedom. Nowadays, they completely control. Everything's automated. They program that stuff in. You don't have the freedom to play stuff that they don't program in. But you could kind of maneuver things around on the charts back then, especially the guys that knew how to get it done.
Did you know that every song that's played on XM Sirius radio on different channels, a couple of guys in New York make out their playlist?
That's it. Yeah.
The disc jockeys are there that talk and say, "Well, I'll play you this one by Willie and Waylon." What? It's programmed into the
without a doubt
thing, and they punch a button, and there it goes.
I remember, and it's been years ago. It was when I was still working radio before I kind of went on my own imprint and got off of that. But I had gone to do a radio station visit. I think it was Denver. And I was sitting in a control room with a DJ, and he said, "What song would you like to play?" And I said, "Well, I'd like to play such and such." And he keyed it up on the keypad. And before he could spin it and put it in the system, somebody in another office overrode him and put a different song in, with me sitting in the control room.
Pretty cool.
I watched it happen. You know, they didn't and they played one of my songs, but it wasn't the one that he and I talked about right there facing each other.
That's when old Tracy would have really liked to got up and popped him.
Yeah, it's a different world out
It's
there.
a different world.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah, things are a whole lot different than they used to. You could even call a station and you know, kind of work it yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And say, boy, I'm getting a lot of action in such and such. And they'd play your record.
And DJs in certain markets, they had so much influence. If they spun your record in prime time, it would activate things. I mean, a DJ was like an artist amongst themselves because the way that they spun records back then, when you had to back it up to the groove, when there was an art form to being a DJ.
That's right.
It's not the same anymore. It's all automated. You get 30 seconds in certain spots where you got a little space to talk over, and everything's just on automated. It's all down to the second.
Yep. Sure is.
How much longer are you going to do this?
Live, you mean?
No. Hopefully a long damn time more. I mean, how much longer you think you want to go out on the road and, you know, even do a handful of shows a year?
As long as I can still sing.
Yeah.
Ray Charles said it best. They asked him, when are you going to retire? And he said, retire to what?
Yeah.
Well, I retired for a little while after I sold my bus. And you can only do so much crappie fishing, so much cutting the grass and all that stuff like that. And then when Mo called me here back, 5 or 6 years ago and said, hey, let's do some reunion dates. I said, I'm all for it, you know?
Yeah.
And I enjoy being in front of the crowd, and I enjoy singing the songs that they remember that I did.
Yeah.
So
That's a body of work and a legacy that you've got to be very proud of.
I'm very proud of it. I really am, because I think I've had 80 some odd charted records, and I don't know how many, 7 or 8, 9, 10. You've had so many number ones, though. It's unbelievable, but I had a good run. And
yeah, and it's, you know, when you dream that dream and you are actually able to live your life doing something that you truly are passionate about, it's there's a lot of pride in that. I mean, everybody doesn't get to have that in life. I mean, when you were a kid, when did you really start to think that you could actually make it? That you really thought that you had an opportunity to do it professionally?
that's a good question there, Tracy boy. When I was in the 4th grade, I think I was 10, maybe 10 years old. I'm not sure how old I was. They had a talent contest at my little elementary school. The kids around me knew I could sing because I would sing, you know, at recess and stuff like that, you know, just songs that was on the radio. They said, why don't you get in that show, man? Said you could win some money. So I got in there, and I sang the old Clarence Frogman Henry song, I Ain't Got No Home. That's where you sing like a girl, you sing like a frog, and you sing like yourself, you know. Do you remember the song?
I don't.
I said, ain't got no home, no place to roam. I'm a lonely boy, da 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 da. But I sing like a girl, and you start singing like a girl, and I sing like a frog. I sing like a frog, and I did that song and won $10.
Wow.
And I said, man, there's something to this. Maybe later on I could be a singer, you know, and make money doing it. And that was a big thrill for me to win first place.
Yeah, and looking back over all that, man, it's when you have a body of work and something tangible that you can actually leave behind. I mean, I'm proud of mine. I'm proud. I know you. I mean, just to go back over the body of work and say, you know, I'm leaving a legacy behind that nobody can ever take away.
There you go.
That's just a really cool thing.
All the folks that helped me so much, bless their hearts, they're gone. And Merle Kilgore was a dear friend.
I loved Merle. Whew.
Brother.
Boy, I'm telling you what, Hank Jr. put him through hell.
Oh, Lord.
I saw some things. Ooh.
Yeah. He could put down the rum and the whiskey and everything else, bless his heart. Do you know the story on him when he passed away?
I don't.
He put in his will, or just in a writing, for his wife to give to the people. He didn't want anybody coming to his funeral thing. He wanted to just be one person to a car. So when they drove his body to the funeral, to the burial grounds, it would be the longest progression of cars.
Yeah.
And it worked. When he left the old Ryman down there, that's where they had his memorial service. I was there. You couldn't get in line for so many cars getting in line because there was just one person in the car.
That was a pretty dang good idea.
But Merle's gone, and Dale Hawkins, who helped me so much in the 60s, and different ones are all gone. Gallico's gone, and all the people that was in his organization. Billy Sherrill's gone. Naro Wilson's gone. George Ritchie's gone. Glenn Sutton's gone. All of them that was Gallico people are gone. And then Steve Davis died here about a year or so ago. He was the last one. Me and him are the last ones left, I think, in the Gallico clan. And now he's gone. And Steve Davis, you might not know, but he wrote a great Percy Sledge song called Take Time to Know Her.
Wow.
Great songwriter. I cut that country, too. I loved it so much, that song.
Yeah, all those old guys, man. It's just I loved sitting down and hearing all those stories from guys. And Wayne Edwards had zillions of them.
Oh.
I mean, you know, and I met. I remember meeting Ronnie Millsap through Wayne. He would, because Wayne was working records, and he would come up to the office when I was just getting started. I met Ronnie early on. Got to be good friends with Charlie Pride. You know, I met Charlie Daniels early on. I mean, just a lot of those legendary guys. It's just everybody's gone. They're just all gone.
Charlie Daniels, one of his first records was on Paula Records.
Was it really?
Out of Shreveport, Louisiana. Song called The Middle of a Heartache. And I went back and recut that song myself because I loved it so much. And just...
What happened to the Louisiana Hayride? I bring that up. It just kind of crossed my mind. I played that facility. Clay Walker and I played that facility a couple of years back, but I never got to experience it. My mom would tell me stories about the Louisiana Hayride, and it seemed to me that it was comparable to what the Grand Ole Opry did.
Oh,
What
yeah.
brought the Hayride down? What happened?
I don't know. It was in the Municipal Auditorium, Shreveport, Louisiana, and they were really starting before Nashville got started.
Oh,
with
yeah.
the stuff. They could have been.
And they had all the artists. They had a good stable of artists, and it was huge. And I've never heard anybody explain to me what happened.
Bad management, I guess, somewhere down the line, because they had a great auditorium for it, and there's still shows done in the auditorium.
We just played one. That's the first time that I'd done a show in that facility, but it's still got a charm to it.
It does.
It's better than Hearst Coliseum.
Yeah, yeah.
Here it says the show's popularity declined in the 50s as television drew more audiences away from radio.
Really? So it was just they didn't make the transition over to TV, and I guess the Opry did at some point. They were able to kind of cross that bridge, because the Opry's been able to sustain. I guess that's the longest continually running radio show on the planet.
That's right.
It's been going on forever.
That's right. It's kind of like rock and roll. When rock and roll was going and everything, all the stations were playing rock and roll. When it started fading out, it started being country.
Yeah.
Getting all those stations that were rock and roll stations that went country. Now I think there's more country stations than any kind of
format.
Format.
Country's probably the biggest format in anything in the United States.
That's
and
true.
Going around the world. Yeah, it's completely it's huge. But country is so diverse. I've always looked at it kind of like the melting pot of music. You got a little rap, you got a little rock, you got a little pop, you got a little gospel, a little
That's
blues,
right.
a little R&B.
That's right.
I mean, it's influenced by everything from every genre.
Elvis was considered country for a while.
Yeah.
He was a true rock and roller.
Yeah.
Well, I was a true rock and roller for
And
12 years.
So was Conway.
Conway Twitty was. Ronnie Millsap was.
Yeah.
Mickey Gilley was. Jerry Lee Lewis, let's face it.
Oh, yeah.
And he put out some of the best country songs ever.
Oh, his whole body of work is just country and rockabilly.
Oh,
That's every bit of
it's
it.
great.
And we've seen that trend continue. I mean, you've got Post Malone that's coming over to country now. I don't know if you're familiar with his work. And then you've got Darius Rucker that was Hootie and the Blowfish.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys have left rock and roll and come to country because it's a stable format.
That's right.
It is, and it's always been that way.
That's right. And I appreciate everything I've got out of country because
Without a doubt.
I started doing country records in 1971. So it's quite a long while ago.
Yes, sir. Do you do any social media stuff at all?
Not really.
Yeah.
No.
Do you have a flip phone?
Yes, where is that thing?
He left it in the car.
I left it in the car. Yeah, I did. I have a flip phone, and I'm proud of it.
And you don't text?
Because I don't have to text on it. I don't have to get no text on it. And all I got to do is open it up and talk.
Yeah.
And when I get ready to call somebody, I got the ones I want to call, a little list of them, and I'll punch that button and call them. The ones that I don't have, I've got their numbers written down in my book, and I'll just punch in their number.
I understand.
But I'm from the old school.
Yeah.
I wasn't even going to get a phone. And Tim, my son, he got me one for, was it Christmas? About 20 years ago. I can't live without it now. It's on me all the time, you know?
Well, don't go over that smartphone. It'll change your life, man. It's not going to be good. I mean, I'm watching YouTube and stuff all the time. I mean, I can't put the dang thing down.
There's people you'll see driving their cars. They're watching a movie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I can't do that on mine.
Well, I've also seen women reading books and putting their makeup on, driving with their knee going down the interstate,
There you
too.
go.
So it's been going on a
There
long
you
time.
go.
Yeah. And that scares me more than people watching the movie on their phone. Joe, have we missed anything that you want to talk about? I want to give you an opportunity to say anything you want to say. We touched on politics a little bit, but I mean, as we kind of wind up here.
Well, I'll say this. Tony, my son Tony, Tim's brother, and Terry Joe's brother, has written some great songs through the years, and I hope and pray that he can get a deal sometime and get a great record out.
Yeah.
But he sang on this program we had here. What was it called, Tim? The children of country stars or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Sing their songs.
I think when I talked to you before, y'all were doing a thing at where they do Cowboy Christmas. I mean, Cowboy Church. Isn't that where y'all were doing a performance? That was.
Well, it was just a few weeks ago.
The Troubadour.
Troubadour.
Yeah. Okay.
Troubadour.
So
yeah, we did it there. And so Tony got on that show. He sang Roll On Big Mama, All These Things, and Red Wine and Blue Memories, and brought the house down. And then me and Mo, we were both sitting there, and they got us up, and we did just Good Old Boys, and all that's on tape now. It's on
awesome
film. So I was so proud of Tony. I got to say that because you can ask Tim. He really sang them well.
Well, he's always been a great singer.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've always thought.
I cut a record on Tony when he was like 14 or 15 years old.
I remember going and seeing him when I first got to Nashville. Terry Joe let me know where he was, and I mean, he's just always had a powerful voice. And great songwriter too. We actually wrote some together years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Boys, got any good questions? I know y'all chomping at the bit back there.
Well, I was just wondering, did you ever have any pranks back in the old days that y'all would pull on one another?
Oh, me and Mo?
Yeah, or
we used
any
to race
pranks.
our buses. Late at night, we'd do a show and get through, and I wasn't ready to go to bed or nothing. Mo wasn't. He'd drive his bus, and I'd drive my bus, and we'd see who could outrun the other one, you know? And I always beat him.
All right.
Sure did.
Out of all your experiences and travels and everything, what would you say is the greatest life lesson that you've learned thus far?
Of the travels or the meeting people?
Just the greatest life lesson from all of your travels, from all of your experiences.
Well, I guess being able to step off the bus or wherever you're at or off the stage, I've always been a firm believer in it's the people out there that make you.
Yes, sir.
And Mo and I, the other night, we signed for 2 hours after the show. And you don't mind doing that because they want to talk to you. And we always talk to them. And that's a good thing that you should do, anybody in the business should do, because they're what makes the ball spin, everything go.
Yeah. I can't tell you how much I respect you and love you and appreciate your friendship all these years. And I'm so honored that you took a little time to come visit with me.
I appreciate you,
Yes,
buddy.
sir.
I really do.
Thank you very much.
And from Farming, Arkansas to Spring Hill, Louisiana, we're definitely good old boys. There ain't no doubt about it.
Mr. Joe Stampley.
Yeah.